Coming up, what an excellent day for... Hang on. Where's Kynan? I thought he was here with me in the studio, but I don't see anybody else here. Let me just...
A jump scare!
Oh, God! Well, howdy, folks, and welcome to minute 97 of the Exorcist Minute, a show... Well, let me catch my breath a little bit. He got me, folks. He really did get me. Okay, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate The Exorcist minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Kynan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. And yes, folks, today is what an excellent day for a jump scare. Just in case the mics didn't pick up that amazing bit of improv we just did. Okay, so our minute begins with Karis listening as the demon on the tape says, "I am no one."
And it ends with him making a late-night house call.
Yes, folks, things are getting weird. I feel like we're closing in on our final act here, but yeah, let's get back to the top of this minute. Now, last time we really didn't get to talk about this tape. We didn't get to talk about what this demon or demons, ? Are actually saying. Again, I can't help but point out how unique and different from stereotypical devil speech this is. I think the thing that gave me the most chills back when I first saw this was that line, "I am no one." And again, like a lot of deeply disturbing stuff in this story, I couldn't tell you exactly why "I am no one" is so much more scarier than "I am the devil" or right. "I am Pazuzu," "I am Captain Howdy," or even "I am Legion." Just "I am no one" hits me the same way that, like, "you're gonna die up there" hits me. Like what does that even mean, right?
Right. And here we're in the middle of solving this mystery, and then the solution to the mystery is "you are no one." That's not very satisfying.
No, right? Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Like, I started wondering, like, because we were talking before about the relationship between God and demons and angels and humans, right? And Captain Howdy hates us for these very human qualities which we possess, right? Which he sees as inferior or maybe hypocritical. And like Iblis in the Quran, he also takes issue with our claimed kinship with God, right? Like how can this lump of clay be God's most beloved? And as his most beloved, we are given these like special gifts which are exclusive to us, right? Like free will, like the ability to change our nature, to correct our mistakes, right? Like a finite time on this earth, right? And some of these things seem like flaws or hindrances to a pure spirit like Captain Howdy, but it actually makes me think of the Silmarillion. This is Tolkien's epic creation story for the world of the Lord of the Rings, right? It's his mythology, his Bible, right?
So I haven't read it. I thought it was like a reference book. Am I misunderstanding what the Silmarillion is?
It really is like the Bible of Middle Earth, right? There is a creation story, right? Like the world of Middle Earth is created out of music, and there's like one of these, we'll call them angels, but like, the Tolkien fans know the, Valar and Maiar and all that stuff, right? But like,
so it's told as, so you open it up and it's in character as a Bible.
Yes, right. So it's like there was void, and then Eru Iluvatar, right? The god creates these beings, right? The very, very angelic beings who then start to like join him in this song, and that kind of like molds and shapes the earth, right? But then, of course, there is this one, angel named Melkor who sings a different tune, right? Like, and they call it Melkor's Discord, right? And he kind of like, he thinks his part of the song is more valuable, and it's more beautiful, and so he corrupts everything, right? But yeah, all of that to say, I think they talk about this in the Lord of the Rings minute. So for that, go check out the Lord of the Rings minute. But so in this creation story, the god of this universe, Eru Iluvatar, right? What I'm trying to get at is he gives the humans the gift of death, And he says, this will allow you to see things differently from the elves. This will inspire you to do great things. This will give you compassion and a sense of purpose and a sense of time and a perception of my universe that the elves cannot have. This is my gift to you. It's not a punishment. It is a gift. But of course, right, the elves look at the humans like they are inferior because like they're not as wise. They don't live as long. They get sick. They don't have hardy bodies like the elves do. They don't see how these things make humans special, and
they can't take a shield and ride it down a surfboard while no scoping an orc in the eye with an arrow.
Exactly. Really, like what good are humans if they can't do that, right? Oh boy. Yeah. But
I saw that opening night when Legos did that, and that's one of the great like audience reactions of any movie I've ever seen doing that.
What was their reaction? Were they like yay?
Like, I don't believe that that's in the book.
No.
I think that is 2002 Extreme Sports Peter Jackson.
Yeah. So you don't think Legolas hanging 10?
Yeah, pulling a 360 ollie. Yeah,
catching some sick curvature. I don't know. Surfer speak, folks. Waves, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I'm saying is like that whole thing in the Silmarillion about like these gifts that seem like flaws, right? That story reminded me of this friction between like the humans and the fallen angels, right? Like you're better than us. How? Right? Mm-hmm. And I think this right here, right? Captain Howdy saying, I am no one, answers that question for me because, Kynan, what if amongst all of the unique gifts that maybe don't seem like gifts, which God gave us, like amongst the uniquely human things which we sort of take for granted, what if one of those things was an identity? Like I can say to you, Kynan, who are you? And you can say, I am Kynan. And you have an image of yourself. You can say, this is me. Just like Reagan on the first tape, right? Like says, Daddy, this is me, right? And she knows who me is, right? And I can say, I am Lester. And I have an idea of what that means. And yeah, maybe we are still figuring out exactly what it means to be us as we go through life. But
it feels like a curse to us, right? Yeah, I don't know who I am.
Right.
What am I?
Exactly. But it is something that we can hold on to in the sea of information and words and feelings and experiences, right? To both of us, Ian is more than a one-syllable word made up of 3 letters, right? That name means something to both of us, right?
Right.
I say that name and I invoke his name on the show, and our 2 separate consciousnesses go immediately to our friend, right? That's the power of a name, the power of an identity. We are able to carve out a little chunk of time and space and energy and give it a name, and immediately then we have a relationship with it. And that got me wondering, has Captain Howdy not given up his name yet because he doesn't want us to know it? Or in this universe, in this story, does he not have one? Is that one of the things that a demon covets of us, right? Is that one of those gifts from God that we don't even realize, that we like take for granted because we think, oh yeah, everything has a name. Everything is something. What if that's not the case? What if demons don't get an identity?
That would help you with your argument about that you're trying to find things for, right? About the problem with Pazuzu, and so like maybe this Captain Howdy is Pazuzu and Legion, right? And like takes on identity and is searching for it, but over the course of millennia, where as opposed to like you and I might not understand who we are into our 80s and we die, right? Now he's doing it over thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, and then. Now I'm thinking of like when he inhabits another body, is this the first time that he has this feeling of like singularity? Like, oh, this is my hand. This is my face. This is my, like, I am this person now.
But
right?
he has, if that is true, again, we're sort of hypothesizing and spitballing here. If that is true, he has trouble accepting it so far in our movie because he says our hand, or it's the pig's hand, or the sow's hand, right?
Yeah. So he's still kind of like, yeah, it's just a weird like place that my mind went when like when we hear I am no one. Like it's almost like you humans don't know how lucky you are to like be called something, right? And like now. In the movie, we hear some other stuff on this tape as well, right? We got some growling, and we also have some sensual moaning. Like, this was another thing that really disturbed me when I was little. Like, the way that Friedkin's Captain Howdy and Mercedes McCambridge's Captain Howdy is so sensual at times. Like
you're having trouble saying that because like we associate that with sexual, I suppose. But
Yeah.
that's not exactly how you mean it, right? It's like it's that and more like of being in a body and being sensing things you haven't sensed before.
Yeah,
Right.
sensual, but also I mean like I'm kind of like on the fence about the
it is sexual, but
Yeah.
it's like it is also like this like yeah, I mean that's something that movies don't really do very well. I mean, not to go too far into like people don't want us to be talking about sex, I'm sure, but like that's not something that movies or pornography do very well of what sex and all of that does to the whole body and not just genitals and faces and thoughts, right? It does something that is like, oh, you become hyper sensitive, hyper aware of the wind, the air in your room, and the way the surfaces feel, etc. Like you're in this different spot for a little while.
Right, your brain activity, your consciousness, it goes to like a whole nother place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry to talk to you about sex, folks.
Yep. There we go. Right. You thought it's like this is Uncle Lester and Uncle Kynan creepily talking about the birds and the bees.
Right. Come real close for this part.
Making myself sick. Oh God.
No, but I think you are right about what's going on in Mercedes McCambridge's performance. It's very, very interesting.
Yes, and there is
like, luxuriating in being somewhere.
Yes. Okay. Exactly. Okay. I was looking for that word. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And folks, there is a up on YouTube. There's, I guess it's like raw footage of just Mercedes McCambridge doing her thing, and it's like it's everything. It's even the stuff that was cut out, and her just kind of like, and just imagine like while she's recording, she is tied to a chair. She is heavily drugged up, right? Because she's drinking whiskey and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she is given the performance of a life. It is amazing and scary and disturbing and also sensual and like it's very weird, right? And I will post that up on the listener group, right? But like there's a moment later in the film during the exorcism where you cannot tell whether the demon is laughing or crying or in the throes of like sensual passion. And it's like, I keep saying sensual and I hate how making the word feels gross in my mouth, but like it's really disturbing. It's almost like, okay, I'm putting this together now in my brain, right? It's almost like we talked about Kynan, like having like an identity, right? Is coveted by Captain Howdy. Is pain also a unique sensation to demons? Like I am no one. I've never had a name. I've never had a body. I've also never felt, ooh, what is this? What is this? Like, you call this pain? Is this what humans feel? Like, and just like languishing in it and relishing it. Like, oh, so this is what God's children feel. This is what it is to feel. Like, it makes me think of what he says in the book, right? It is warm in the body. Feel the blood. Feel how it sings. Like we don't, Kynan, we don't notice our blood.
No,
right?
As
it's like we don't notice our heart pumping, right? But like to Captain Howdy, it's like, whoa, these humans have no idea how lucky they are. I can feel this girl's heartbeat. I can feel my own breath. I've never had breath before. And that just goes back to like, these humans get to have a name, and they get to have blood and breath, and they can taste things and they can hear things, and they have no idea how lucky they are. They do not deserve any of this. Like they don't appreciate any of this. And so he's making all these like gross, ecstatic noises because the sensation of being human is almost too much for him, even the pain part. Like, what do you think?
That's really interesting. I mean, there are people who train themselves, right, to be able to feel their heart. Some of them say they're able to feel blood through their veins, right, because they're able to train themselves to focus on that and to get rid of all of the other sensory information that their brain is constantly feeling and reading, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember as a kid being able to taste what a spoon tastes like?
I mean, like, are you talking about like the first time?
Yeah, like a metal spoon, which like now, like for me, so like, you know, I don't taste metal when I get a spoonful of ice cream or whatever, because my body, my mind is like, well, you don't need that information, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard like in like similar, I guess a similar case is like you can always see your nose.
Oh yeah, it's so freaky when I force myself to look at my nose.
But your body is just like, your brain is just like, we're just going to ignore that part, right?
But not necessary, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I guess the same thing, right? Like you don't taste the spoon when you're having food, but at the same time, somebody put this up on TikTok, and it's been messing with my brain ever since. Your tongue knows how everything feels. Even stuff you haven't tasted. Like look, like listeners, look around the room right now and look at something that you are sure that you have never licked.
Oh, Jesus, that's going to be pretty difficult for me here in this office. Something I haven't licked here in my office. Right. No, I have a couch that's fuzzy. That's a new couch that I got in my office, and I have an idea of what that would feel like.
Right, but not just like a vague passing idea.
No.
Exactly.
I know exactly.
This microphone that is inches away from my mouth. I have never put it in my mouth, but I know exactly how it would feel on my tongue.
That's interesting.
That how, right? And people have said it's like, well, when you're a baby, you put everything in your mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like. So maybe that's the loading up of information. Like when we're little kids, is like it's like, well, I have to store this at some point. Like
Well, another thing. So if I really like this idea, again, thought experiment, hypothesis. We're not saying that this is necessarily true. There's no way to figure this out. But if Captain Howdy either has not been in a person before or has not been in a person for a while, I think that's fair to say, right?
Right.
Depending on how we interpret the beginning, maybe Marin has unearthed him without meaning to. So he hasn't been in the body of a newly 13-year-old American child of divorce, right? Yeah. And so all of those feelings, not just the body, like everything that you're saying, but also those feelings, what it is to be a pubescent girl in America, which is, I mean, if Captain Howdy is Pazuzu, which we don't necessarily agree with, but a 13-year-old girl in Mesopotamia as a woman who is getting married and isn't going through all of what we associate today with teenagerhood and like losing a father to divorce. Like these are all different things, right? Who cares? Or like I'm thinking about death when I'm 13 and I'm worried about like why does God let people die?
Yeah, right.
That's
like he can probably feel the emotions as well, right?
Yeah. And those are also, so even if he hasn't been in, so if he does jump from person to person, but it's been a couple thousand years, these are all brand new feelings that are like you're saying, terrible things for Reggie to be going through, but might be really just fun and interesting for Captain Howdy.
My mother loves me. She's worried about me. I can sense that, and also this place has air conditioning, and he's not putting any like value on any of these factors. Exactly. They're all the same, right?
Yeah.
It's like this place has air conditioning, and my mother's worried about me, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's like I can't even fathom. But and again, we're just spitballing, folks. We're just like guessing around, and
No, that's really interesting. But it does, explain again some of the performance that McCambridge is coming up with Blatty, or not Blatty, with Friedkin. That's just really interesting.
Yeah. Now, in addition to all of these sounds that we're getting from the tape recorder, we also get a word, Marin, which, if we are seeing this for the first time, Kynan, what do we make of this? Do we know it's a name? Do we know who the name belongs to?
Yeah, absolutely not. We wouldn't recognize it anything, right?
Yeah. Even in the book, it's ambiguous. Karras he's listening to the tape, and he's actually writing it down. He's transcribing this part, and he writes it phonetically. He actually spells it Marin with a question mark. He's like, he doesn't know like what the demon said, right? So again, like Marin, Father Marin is never named in that opening prologue, right? He's always referred to as the man in khakis, the old man, right? Now, we can't escape from our knowing of who this is, like you and me, Kynan, and all of our listeners, right?
Right.
Or even that this word is most definitely a name. But let's go back in time. We haven't read the book. We're sitting in this darkened theater. Our friend dragged us to this movie, right? We made it this far into the movie, and now the demon is screaming, Marin.
Right.
Like what are we even supposed to be? It's like, is this another language?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because it's now been reversed, so it had been whatever, like
Nerim.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think it even registers as anything at all. So that's interesting in the book, right? So he's writing it down so that we'll remember it, but in the movie we don't have that at all, right?
Right.
There's no reason why we should like cache that away in our movie watching memory.
Right. And so Karras has been standing by the window, nearly empty coffee cup in hand, and so now he walks over to the desk, he stops, and he rewinds the tape as he sits down at the desk. It makes me wonder, like, how many times has he listened to this, right? Like, the coffee is almost gone, like I said, right?
Right.
So he rewinds the tape, presses play and starts listening again more intently, right? We see in his face that he is trying to work things out. We hear "I am no one" from the tape again, and he sort of like opens his mouth, like almost like he's gonna like mimic it, right? Like repeat it to himself. Like maybe he's trying to get a sense of like how the words feel in your mouth. Like can you say this backwards, right?
Right. This doesn't feel like my couch in my mouth.
Right. And I know what that feels like, right?
Right, obviously. It's the opposite of whatever the underside of my shoe feels like in my mouth. Which
what do you mean, whatever? Let's stop pretending here. We all know. Listeners, you know right now, as we say it, what the underside of your shoe feels like on your tongue. Don't pretend you don't.
Right.
All right. Anyway.
It's like your smartest muscle in your body, right?
Yeah, it is, right? Yeah. But yeah, so let's see. So now, folks, before we continue with this scene, it is time again for another reading from the Book of Blatty. But not just any reading. This is where Blatty has inserted a brand new scene with a brand new scene with a brand new character. This is in the 40th anniversary edition of this book. You may have noticed that I've mostly been reading from the first edition, mostly because I like the wording and the pacing a little bit more. But this scene and this character we're about to meet are not in that edition, so I am now reading from the 40th anniversary edition. So here we go. Oh, and just to preface this, so this happens right around this time. Karis is still in his room. He's up late. He's doing research. And so this is the best place for it, I decided. Okay, so here we go. A reading from the Book of Blatty. Karis stopped reading and shook his head. There was nothing paranormal here, he thought. Only proof of the limitless abilities of the mind. He reached for a cigarette, sat down, and lit it. I am no one. Many. Where did it come from, Karis wondered. This eerie content of Regan's speech. From the same place Clelia had come from. Emergent personalities? Marin. Ah, the blood. He is ill. His eyes haunted. Karis glanced at his copy of Satan and moodily leafed to the opening inscription. Let not the dragon be my leader. Closing his eyes as he exhaled smoke, Karis lifted a fist to his mouth as he coughed, and, aware of his throat feeling raw and inflamed, he crushed out the cigarette in an ashtray. Exhausted, he slowly and awkwardly got up, flicked out the room light, shuttered his window blinds, kicked off his shoes, and collapsed face down on his narrow cot. Fevered fragments spun and tumbled through his mind. Regan, Kinderman, Dennings, what to do? He must help. He had to help. But how? Try the bishop with what little he had? He did not think so. He could never convincingly argue the case. He thought of undressing, of getting under the covers. Too tired. This burden. He wanted to be free. Let us be. As he began the slow drift into granite sleep, Karis's lips moved almost imperceptibly, forming the soundless words, let me be. And then suddenly, he was lifting his head, awakened by adenoidal breathing and the soft sound of cellophane being crinkled, and opening his eyes, he saw a stranger in his room, a slightly overweight, middle-aged, freckle-faced priest with thin strands of red hair that were combed straight back on a balding head. Sitting in an overstuffed corner chair, he was watching Karis and tearing off the seal from a packet of Gauloises cigarettes. The priest smiled. Oh, well, hello. Karis swung his legs around and sat up. Yeah, hello and goodbye, Karis growled. Who are you and what the fuck are you doing in my room? Look, I'm sorry, but when I knocked and you didn't answer, I saw the door was unlocked, so I just thought I'd come in and wait. And there you were. The priest gestured to a pair of crutches, tilted and leaned against the wall near the chair. I couldn't wait for very long in the hall, you see. I can stand for so long, but then, at some point, I just have to sit. I do hope you'll forgive me. I'm Ed Lucas, by the way. Your father president suggested that I see you. Slightly frowning, Karis tilted his head to the side. You said Lucas? Yes, it's Lucas all the time, said the priest, his grin displaying long and nicotine-stained teeth. He'd extracted a cigarette from the packet and was slipping a hand into his pocket for a lighter. Mind if I smoke? No, go ahead, I'm a smoker. Ah, well, yes, Lucas said, as he glanced at a crush of cigarette butts in an ashtray on the end table next to his chair. The priest held out the cigarette packet to Karis. Try a Gaulois? Thanks, no. Look, you said that Tom Birmingham sent you? Good old Tom, yeah, we're buds. We were in the same high school class at Regis. And after that, we did our tertianship together at St. Andrews on Hudson. Yes, Tom recommended that I see you. So I took a Greyhound from New York. I'm at Fordham. Karras's mood abruptly lifted. He said, "Oh, New York, is this about my request for reassignment?" "Reassignment? No, I know nothing at all about that. It's a personal matter," said the priest. Karras's shoulders slumped with his hopes. "Well, okay then," he said in a tone more subdued. He stood up and walked over to the straight-backed wooden chair behind his desk, turned it around, sat down, began to measure Lucas with a clinically appraising eye. To Karras, from this closer vantage, the priest's black suit looked rumpled and baggy, even seedy. There was dandruff on the shoulders. The priest had pulled a cigarette out of its package, and now he lit it with the leaping tall flame of a Zippo lighter that he seemed to have produced unnoticed from a pocket, like a magician's sleight of hand, and then blew out a stream of moody bluish-gray smoke, which he watched with what looked like a deep satisfaction as he drawled, there's nothing like a Gaulois for the nerves. Are you nervous, Ed? A little. Well, okay, then let's get to it. Go ahead and lay it out for me, Ed. How can I help you?" Lucas studied Karras with a look of concern. "You look exhausted," he said. "Perhaps it's best if we meet up tomorrow. What do you say?" Then he quickly added, yes, most definitely tomorrow. Could you hand those to me, please?" He had reached out a hand to the crutches. No, Karras told him. "I'm fine, Ed, just fine." Leaning forward with his hands clasped together between his knees, Karras scanned the priest's face as he told him, "Procrastination is what we often call resistance." Lucas lifted an eyebrow, in his eyes the faint hint of what might have been bemusement. "Oh, is that so?" "Yes, it's so." Karras lowered his gaze to Lucas's legs. "Does that depress you?" he asked. "What do you mean?" "Oh, my legs. Well, sometimes, I suppose." "Congenital?" No. It happened in a fall." For a moment, Karras studied his visitor's face. That faint, secret smile. Had he seen it yet again? "That's too bad," Karras murmured sympathetically. Well, that's the world we've inherited, not so?" reacted Lucas, the Gaulois cigarette still dangling from a corner of his mouth. He took it from his lips between two fingers and lamented amid an exhale of smoke. Well. So, okay, Ed, let's get to it, okay? You didn't come here all the way from New York to play dodgeball with me, that's for sure. So let's open up now. Tell me everything, okay? Open up." Lucas gently shook his head and looked aside. Well, it's such a long story," he began. But then he had to put his fist to his mouth as a new spell of coughing racked him. "Want a drink?" Karras asked. His eyes watering, the priest shook his head. No, I'm fine," he said chokingly. Really, as the spasm seemed to pass. He looked down and brushed cigarette ash from the front of his jacket. "Filthy habit," he grumbled as Karras noticed now what looked to be a soft-boiled egg stain on the black clergy shirt the priest wore beneath his jacket. "Okay, what's the problem?" Karras asked. Lucas lifted his gaze to him and said, "You." Karras blinked. He said, "Me?" "Yes, Damien, you. Tom's terribly worried about you." Karras stared at Lucas steadily now, with the beginning of realization, for in his eyes and in his voice there was a deep compassion. "Ed, what do you do up at Fordham?" Karras asked. "I counsel," said the priest. "You counsel?" "Yes, Damien. I'm a psychiatrist." Karras stared. "A psychiatrist," he echoed blankly. Lucas looked aside. Well, now, where do I begin?" he breathed out reluctantly. "I'm not sure. It's so tricky, very tricky." Well, then, let's see what we can do," he said softly, leaning over and tamping out his Gaulois in the ashtray. "But then again, you're a pro," he said, looking up. "And at times, it's best to put things on the table straight away." The priest began coughing into his fist again. "Damn, I'm really sorry." The coughing ended. Lucas eyed Karras somberly. "Look, it's all this crazy business with you and the McNeils." Karras reacted with surprise. "The McNeils?" he marveled. "Listen, how could you possibly know about that? There's no way that Tom would ever let that out. No way. It would be harmful to the family." "There are sources." "What sources? Such as who? Such as what?" "Does it matter?" said the priest. "No, not at all. All that matters is that your health and your emotional stability, both of which are clearly already in danger, and this thing with the McNeils will only stress it all the more. So the provincial is ordering you to break it off. Break it off for your own sake, Karras, as well as for the good of the order." The priest's bushy eyebrows had gathered inward, almost touching, and he'd lowered his head so that his stare and his visage seemed threatening. "Break it off," he warned, "before it leads to some greater catastrophe, before things get even worse, much worse. We don't want any more desecrations now, Damien, do we?" Karras stared at his visitor in bafflement and then shock. "The desecrations? Ed, what are you talking about? What does my mental health have to do with them?" Lucas leaned back in his chair. Oh, come on, he scoffed cynically. You join the Jesuits and leave your poor mother to die all alone in abject poverty. And so who would someone hate for all of that unconsciously, if not the Catholic Church? Here, the priest leaned forward and again, hunching over as he hissed, "Don't be obtuse. Stay away from the McNeils." His eyes tight, his head angled in surmise, Karras rose and stared down at the priest, demanding huskily, "Who in the hell are you, pal? Who are you?" The soft ringing of the telephone on Karras' desk drew a swift, alarmed glance from Father Lucas. "Watch out for Sharon," he warned Karras sharply. And then, abruptly, the phone was ringing loudly so that Karras awakened and realized he'd been dreaming. Groggy, he got up from his cot, stumbled over to a light switch, flicked it on, and then moved to the desk and picked up the phone. It was Sharon. What time was it? He asked her. A little after 3. Could he come to the house right now? Oh, God. Karras inwardly groaned. And yet, yes, he said. Yes, he would come. And once again he felt trapped, smothered, and meshed. He lurched into his white-tiled bathroom, where he splashed cold water on his face, and, drying off, he suddenly remembered Father Lucas and the dream. What did it mean? Perhaps nothing. He would think about it later. When about to leave his room, at the door, Karras stopped, turned around, and came back for a black woolen sweater. And as he tugged it down, he abruptly stopped, numbly staring at the end table by the corner chair, taking a breath, and then, a slow step forward, he reached down to the ashtray, picked up a cigarette butt, and then stood motionless for a time as he held it up to his stunned surmise. It was a Gaulois. Racing thoughts, suppositions, a coldness, then an urgency. Watch out for Sharon. Karras placed the Gaulois butt back into the ashtray, hurried from his room and down the hall, and then out onto Prospect Street, where the air was thin and still and damp. And that is that.
The hell does that mean?
Okay, let's get into as Karras says. Let's get into it. Yeah, what? So yeah, thoughts, Kynan?
I don't understand exactly. It feels really late to be introducing this thread, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Father Lucas.
Well, not just Father Lucas, but the idea that Karras is the person who is doing the desecrations.
Okay, so that's what you like what he was saying. Like he was hinting that this was Karras the whole time.
And now the whole time, and now Karras is thinking. So Karras is feeling guilt, like, oh, perhaps he is experiencing something like dissociative identity disorder and doing the desecrations. I mean, this must be 50 pages from the end of the book. I mean, we're almost done. Very odd, doesn't it? Maybe that'd be interesting earlier.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. And then, 40 years later, adding all of this. And, we haven't quite talked about this. Like the TVYNS, the version you've never seen, right?
Right.
I was mentioning way early on that it's like, well, this is part of that moment in the late 1990s and early 2000s when it was really attractive for a studio to re-release a movie and to do these these alternate cuts, right? Because that's on DVD and Blu-ray, and we could basically sell you several copies of The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
But it's Blatty who was really pushing for TVYNS, right?
I'm not sure.
I have heard, I had originally thought it was mostly Friedkin and the studio. And then I've heard more recently that it was Blatty asking Friedkin, hey, come on, let's put some of this stuff back in that when we were making the film, we had to cut out. And I had acceded to you about, this change and that change and asking, the stuff that we sort of agree on that's pretty good, like the stairs stuff.
The stairs stuff. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And the spider walk, right?
And the spider walk. And then also I'm pretty sure if I had to choose which one of the Billies wanted the extended ending with Dyer and Kinderman, I would say that's probably Blatty.
Yeah. So yeah, adding this 40 years later
in the book,
yeah, makes me feel like he's that would be after TVYNS. So
right,
yeah. So maybe Blatty's to blame for all this.
It's so weird. I don't know. I tried to keep it out of my voice as I was reading it and as I'm mentioning it. Maybe not. I mean, I think I'm kind of like an open book about this, but I don't know if folks, I don't know if leading up to this, you could hear how I feel about it in my voice, right?
No, you did very well.
Okay. But I'm here to say right now, I don't like this. I don't know why he added it. I don't know what the purpose of this new character is. I don't even know who he is supposed to be.
Right.
That's the thing that bothers me the most because he's, okay, He's obviously supernatural, right? Because he knows way more than he should about Karis and the McNeils, right? About Karis's mother and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously evil because he's trying to tell Karis to give up on the McNeils, right? He must be a demon, but like in the places where the hints would be, like his clothes, his appearance, the cigarettes, the dandruff, like the soft-boiled egg stain on his shirt. He's overweight. He's balding. He has long, stringy red hair, right? These things are at the same time so specific and so vague. Like, he goes out of his way to name the brand of cigarettes that this guy smokes and to tell us that they're different from what Karis smokes, right? He actually gives more physical description to this character than he does to Karis.
Right.
Right? Like, Karis, like, and I went back and I looked, like, how does he describe Karis? It says, dark, rugged face, like a boxer's, chipped, in his 40s, something sad about the eyes. That's it.
Right.
We assume that Karis's hair is short and black because Jason Miller, right? But Blatty's describing this guy, and it feels like he's winking at us, like, see, overweight, red hair, dandruff, Gauloises, and I'm like, no, Blatty, I don't see. Like, what is that? What does it mean? Like, you gave him the name Father Lucas. I think I know where you're going with that.
Like what?
Well, it's like Lucifer, right? But if you're going to go that way, call him Lucius, not Lucas. Lucas is closer to Luke, right? And what like that's what I think you're trying to get at. But like, if you're gonna wink at me, then like fucking wink.
He's got
don't hold back.
Long teeth. That's a weird way of describing it.
Long nicotine stained teeth, right?
He's got red hair, right? No one with red hair could be a good man.
Back in the Middle Ages where they were all burned as witches, right?
Red hair, right? Deviled eggs, perhaps, instead of soft-boiled eggs. On the
That's what it is, yeah.
That's what it is. And that sulfur smell from eggs, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Kynan, did it hurt?
Did what hurt?
When this guy fell from heaven? Yeah, it broke his fucking legs. Did you catch that? I was biting my tongue whenever he's like, it's like, oh, just, it's like, what happened to your legs? And he's like, oh, this happened in a fall. And I want to be like, get it, Kynan? Because he fell? Because he's a fallen angel? Like, so yeah, some of those things are like really, really obvious. And then some of those things like dandruff. What is dandruff?
Yeah.
Like, what is any of this, right?
Right.
Like, and this actually reminded me of another book, Neil Gaiman's American Gods. Have you read or heard of that, Kynan?
I've heard of it, and it's a TV show now. But
yeah, it's a TV show now. Yeah.
But I haven't read Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, the book is amazing, folks. I highly recommend go check it out. And actually, I'm going to spoil it just a little bit. So if you want to go check that out and not have it spoiled for you, don't listen to this little bit. Just skip ahead, 15 seconds. Well, I don't know. We go long, so But okay, yeah, spoilers for American Gods, folks. It's a modern day fantasy story where all of the gods of all of the religions and mythologies are still around, and they're like walking around disguised as people, right? And so our hero meets one of them who calls himself Mr. Wednesday. Already great name. I am intrigued, right? This guy wears mostly gray, mostly suits, right? And he's got a silver tie pin in the shape of a tree with long branches and deep roots, right? He's also missing an eye. Right? Also very interesting, right? And our hero asks him, oh, how'd you lose your eye? And Mr. Wednesday says, didn't lose it. I still know exactly where it is. And you're like, oh, that's intriguing. Like, I want to know more about Mr. Wednesday, right? And that's if you don't already know who he is, right? Like, if you do know the mythology where he comes from, that doesn't spoil it. It actually makes it better because you're like, oh, very good, Neil Gaiman. I see what you're doing. It's like, because all of that stuff, like all of these little hints, all of these little winks fit perfectly with who this guy really is. And then later you find out that he is Odin, the Norse god Odin, right? And you're like, okay, Odin always wears gray. He traded his eye for knowledge. He hung himself on that tree, right? That's the pin he wears. And Wednesday comes from Odin's Day, right?
I always forget that.
Yeah, right? And that's where we get the days of the week, right? Like Thor's Day comes after Woden's Day, right? The Thursday, right? And so it's very good, very clever, very punny, not too obvious, but also not too cryptic. And it's even better than that because Neil Gaiman makes Wednesday into a fully fleshed character, right? Like, Neil Gaiman's Wednesday likes Jack Daniels. He likes rare steak. He's fascinated by like kitschy Americana and tourist traps and greasy spoon diners, right? He's this old down at heel con artist who hires the hero for a job, right? Like, that's removed enough from the character of Odin to be its own thing, right? Like Gandalf is closer to actual Odin, right? Wednesday is like if Odin were a grifter in 90s America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, what I'm trying to say is, folks, Neil Gaiman did a really great job with Wednesday. All of his hints, all of his little winks served the character really, really well. Blatty and Father Lucas, I don't know if this is just because he's like 40 years removed from the story. I don't know if this was like pressure from the higher ups to include this, but ultimately it reminds me of times when this was done better. Right. Like, obviously, because I just hijacked the show to talk about a different book. But yeah, like, Kynan, who do you think this is?
Well, I'm going to run his name through anagram solver.
Lucas?
Father Ed Lucas. Do we have anything?
Edward Lucas.
Father 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, we didn't find any 12-letter words, but maybe if I get rid of Ed here, what do we get here? We get Sepulchral Fate. No, because I don't think so.
I think Lucas is just supposed to be Lucifer.
Yeah, but that's not very good.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's dumb. Like, you would think it would be like, if you're gonna, like, if it's that obvious, make it more obvious. Go all the way. Make it Lucius. Yeah. Right.
Lucifer Morningstar. That's your other Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, right. Make him. Hey, we had Father Morning in Exorcist 3. Mm-hmm. Have him be like have him not say his first name at all. Say, "Oh, my name is Father Morning." Mm-hmm. Right? Oh, that's a funny name for a priest.
That's not a name.
Yeah. But then, then I started looking at the I forget how you spell these. The Galwa. He says it in the audiobook. He pronounces it Galwa. It's Gauloises. Pronounced Galwa or Gauloises.
Gauloises. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
I have not either. But, like, obviously, Blatty is like pointing it to it. He's like, "Hey, look, Gawa." Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so it's a French cigarette. 1910, unfiltered.
Its logo looks like kind of Mercury. It looks like a helmet with wings on it.
Yeah. It's a very, it looks like the Mercury helmet.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
It's from France. What is the meaning? What is legal problems? The was manufactured in 1998, approved the landmark year.
It means Gaulish.
What is Gaulish?
Like Gaul.
What does that tell me?
It doesn't say anything.
It doesn't tell me anything.
None of this is helpful.
But why does he care about, are there, wait. Okay, now I'm just gonna Google. We're doing this live.
All right, I'm going to CaptainHowdy.com and seeing what we find out here.
Devil-themed cigarettes. Is there a better cigarette brand? Mm-hmm. Let's see. I would think, like, if there was a cigarette that this guy smoked, it would be like some kind of, like, with a little, like a little cartoon devil on it or something. Mm-hmm. I don't see anything.
Yeah, and our friends at CaptainHowdy.com don't seem to care for this either. They don't have any ideas.
Oh, they don't like it?
They're like, I don't know. They're comparing this to George Lucasing.
There we go. That's the closest thing I can think.
Father Lucas is George Lucasing.
He's George Lucas, and he's... And he's ruining this original story.
Right. Be careful of Sharon. Sharon will tell you to leave well enough alone.
Okay, that's the other thing. Watch out for Sharon. Yeah. Why?
And that doesn't come up again in the book.
No. What does Karras have to watch out for? Like, I assume he's saying, like, don't listen to Sharon, just leave the McNeils alone. Uh-huh. But he's saying it in this way. Like, he leans over, like, watch out for Sharon.
Right.
Like, what, like, Sharon's gonna get you. Like, what is Sharon hiding? Like, there's nothing. Yeah. I don't understand. Blatty.
I don't know. Okay.
But okay, I think we can both agree, Kynan. Uh-huh. Father Lucas is not a good guy.
He's the devil. Or something.
Okay, that's what I'm okay.
Maybe he's not the devil, maybe he's a devil.
Ooh, okay, so that's another question. Is this a separate demon from Captain Howdy?
No.
This isn't. No.
How would that work?
No, what I'm saying is, because that's how I read it. Okay, so yeah, full disclosure. This is what I'm taking it to be. Right. This is Captain Howdy's having some trouble, so HR comes to Karras in a dream and says, "Hey, let our guy do his thing." Mm-hmm. But so Father Lucas is not Captain Howdy. He's like a different devil stepping in. Is that not what you got?
He comes from the Home Office.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to get from all of this.
So you think this? So you're closer to this is Captain Howdy?
I mean, it's his dream. I don't really necessarily think like. So you think everything in the dreams is something?
I don't know. I like
because we have our other dream where it's crazy nonsense, and some of it is like, of course, you want to read into it and say like, oh, it's all real. And like I've even done that. I've been like, well, look, his mother comes up from the subway station. She's in hell, right?
But
I don't know what to make of this.
See, but that's cleaner. It makes more sense because even if she isn't objectively in hell, that's what Damien would worry about.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he would dream about this, but like this seems like something. I think we both agree this is an outside force messing with Karras's dream. This isn't like Karras's delusion.
Oh, if it were better, I would say it is an outside force since it's not quite there for me literarily. I'm like, no, this is just Karras's.
This is just Karras?
His id or his not his id, his ego, his super ego trying to talk to him.
Yeah, folks, I've been waiting for this reading because like I am stumped. Mm-hmm. I do not know who this is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can think is that it is like the devil or a devil trying to throw Karras off the scent or get him to like turn away.
All right.
That's what it seems like, but I cannot like if that's what it is, I personally don't think Blatty did a good enough job of like telegraphing that to us.
And this is one of the biggest changes in the edition, right?
This is the big change.
This is the big change. Okay, so he cared enough about this to do another edition of the book.
Yeah, like brand new, and like it's even like advertised, like I think like either on the cover or in the little like blurb. It's like, you know, with a brand new scene and a brand new character, and it's like, so you would think like you would walk away from this not scratching your head, being like, what the hell was that? Like,
right.
But that's what we're all doing. It's like, I have no idea who this is supposed to be.
You've had 40 years of Bill to figure this out.
And folks, I mean, like, you know, you listen to our show, you know that like I don't like I'm not above really stupid obvious puns. Like if this guy showed up in a like, you know, in a sparkling white suit, and he's got like blonde hair, and he's like, you know, it's slicked back, and he looks very, you know, like kind of Lucifer-y, and he looks all proper, and he's perfectly manicured nails and stuff like that, right? Like I would be like, yeah, okay, you know, like it's a little bit on the nose, but like I would rather on the nose than this isn't even on the face.
Right.
This is like, what is this? Like, I don't even know. Like the devil, I have never associated the devil with dandruff. Mm-hmm. Or egg stains on your shirt, right? So then my question is like, okay, is this not the devil? Then who is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. This would have been right. One of the last things Blatty did in his work was this 40th anniversary.
Yep.
Thing.
Yeah. So folks, yeah, I'm very like as much as my tone of voice seems to, you know, say like I am annoyed by this, I am deeply interested in this. Like I want to figure this out. Like, so if you have any ideas as to like who this is, please write in the Exorcist Minute.
I'd love to hear that. It looks like the wider fandom is wondering that as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, in any case, right, this doesn't happen in the movie, obviously, because Blatty added it way later, right? In the movie, Karras never falls asleep, but instead he is entranced with this tape. You could almost say hypnotized, I guess, right? He's fallen so deep into this tape that when the phone rings, he jumps out of his skin. And I am right there with them. This thing gets me every single time.
That's a good jump scare. And I wanted to talk about jump scares, and I'm the one who said maybe we should name it that way because like it's the scariest movie of all time for some people, right? But when we think about jump scares in the movie, I can only think of two, I suppose. There might be more, right? But like, what are their jump scares?
Wait, let me guess.
Yeah. What are the jump scares you asking?
Let's see. Okay, well, there's this one. There's the one with the phone. The only other one I can think of is when she barfs on him. that first time.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that as a jump scare.
It's like, what is my mother's maiden name?
Right.
And it cuts back to her, and he's like focused so intently on her, and then she just like, blah,
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that one as a jump scare because we're not even because that's a really good point though. Yeah, the other one that I can think of is when Chris is up in the attic with her candle, right? And we have that candle that comes out of nowhere and scares the crap out of her, and Carl is like, I gave you the exploding brand of candle, right?
Yes.
Carl,
I'm very sorry.
Right. Yeah. So I was thinking about that. So I wanted to say, about jump scares. We've been on this podcast, Sitting in the Dark, this True Story FM podcast. And over there, we had Tommy Metz, who's one of the hosts, who talks about his interpretation of the difference between terror and horror. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And Tommy's definition, there's a couple of definitions out there. Tommy's definition is an interesting one, especially when it relates to possession type movies or the Exorcist type movies. He says that terror is a clean, unemotional, like primal emotion, right? Like the kind, like basically fight or flight. Right.
So if you're walking down walking down a hallway, and then you turn the corner and there's a lion or something.
Right. Things happen to your body that are pre-programmed in you, and you experience terror. But he says for him, horror has an emotionality to it that is about like repercussions, and for him in the possession movie schema, right? It is like horror is about, oh God, like how terrible it is that we as people would have to experience that. Or for possession movies, it's often about like our sin. Right, our main character's sin that's being now exploited by this force of horror. This monster is about our emotions rather than just scaring you, right?
Yes, it's less reactionary, more like of an examination almost. It's like existential.
Right. So, some people will extrapolate horror and terror being more like in the thriller movies, right? And so some people say that. I was listening to Nina Nesseth, who is an author, and she was on this podcast I really love called On the Media, talking about fear. And she approaches pop culture through a science lens.
Okay.
So she has a book called Nightmare Fuel, The Science of Horror Films, which came out last year, and she was talking about that. And her interpretation of horror versus terror, I don't think she invented this. I don't think she coined this because I've seen it some other places, but she communicates it really well. That terror is our fear of what's coming up, and horror is our fear having responded to something that happened.
Oh,
yeah, so that's
really
different
like
from I like Tommy's a lot. This other one is different. They're kind of mutually exclusive, I think. But yeah, I like that a lot, right? Like terror. I'm in that dark hallway and something is out there, and it's a lion, and that's scary. The lion might eat me, right? Horror is about like I turn the corner and a lion is eating somebody, right?
Right.
And I'm responding and reacting to that, and that's horror, right?
Maybe somebody even. Or
yes,
something like that.
Yes, exactly. Or that could be me. Or look what happens to the human body when a lion eats it, and the deeper repercussions of that, right? So again, not to like qualify that like horror is deeper or more important than thrillers, etc. But yeah, that's a really good bifurcation, I think, right?
Yes.
So when a phone rings or a candle explodes or someone pukes on us, it's just like right? We're just so pissed at it that it scared us, right?
It could be. I mean, it could be like the scare could be the transition from one to another.
Yeah.
Because we can say that as Karras is listening to that tape, he is feeling horror, right?
Right.
And then, bam, the phone rings, and we're like,
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I like this interpretation of it. Both Tommy and Nina Nesseth's version of it, right, makes room for it that it's not so clean that one is in thrillers and one is in horror films, because horror movies have both of them, right? They have to have both the thriller and the terror and the horror. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, sorry. It almost seems like, and tell me if I'm on the money here, Kynan, but it almost seems like both of them are saying that, like with terror, your question is, what do I do? And with horror, it's, what does this mean?
That feels right for both of those. Yeah, I think that's right. Oh, good. Now you got to label that the Clark interpretation.
The Clark interpretation. and I think folks, like, because this goes back to like, okay, you're walking down that hallway, same hallway, right? You turn the corner and you see a lion, right? Or let's make it even cleaner, right? Like you turn the hallway and you see somebody with a gun pointed at you, right? That's terror. It's like, oh shit, what do I do? Right? I'm going to die, right? Versus you turn the corner and you see a ghost, right? Like it goes back to like in our Halloween episode, I was talking about like you see a ghost may not necessarily do anything to you, but just seeing it, it's like this is this calls into question everything that I thought was true, right? What does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when people die, apparently, and what does that mean for me? What does that, just like the existential, hearing this voice on this tape for Karis is like he's asking himself, what does this mean, right? Is this a sick girl? And if that's true, what does it mean that she is able to do this so convincingly, or is this a demon? And what does that mean for the universe, right?
And my mother, right? What does it mean
and
for
my mother,
mother?
right?
Yeah. And so I think it's interesting, right? Like we've talked a little bit about, a lot of my students who watch The Exorcist are bored by it, right?
Interesting.
It is made in a different time, and there are different conventions for what a horror movie is. And, the lack of things like jump scares or even the kind of thing that happened in Exorcist 3, like these long takes where we're just waiting for things and we are really dreading something coming out of the blackness. Like we don't really have that in The Exorcist, right?
Right.
We have it in just very few moments. So it really is more of the implications or the repercussions of these things, right? Yeah, what does it mean? It's existential as opposed to scary. And I don't really want to downplay the power of a jump scare. Like I don't like being scared by a jump scare. Like it annoys me in a trailer. When I'm watching something, it was like it is. I don't want to say it's easy. I don't want to say it's cheap, but you can engineer it. You can engineer it, right? Like you can we're going to take the sound out. We're going to stare at something for longer than is comfortable for us. We're going to deny the audience the rhythm of editing that we're used to. And then we're going to partner a change in the image with a change in the sound, right?
Yeah.
So like it's craft. It's when they do that, it takes talent. So I don't want to downplay that whatsoever. It's just not necessarily something that I have fun, happening to me.
I think it is a manipulation of our emotions, of our feelings. With horror, even though it's an uncomfortable feeling, we are led to that place, right? Like we are led to the consideration of the existence of the devil, the existence of ghosts. It's like, oh, what does that mean? Let me ponder and pontificate. The movie has given me this space and this time to think, right? Where like if it's a jump scare, the movie's like, no, like you're going to feel what I want you to feel right now.
Yeah, no matter what.
Like we don't have a choice, right? Yeah, and it's the equivalent of, I guess now, like when you're walking and you're listening to a piece of music and the cord of your earbuds hits the one of the knobs of a drawer and your earbuds get ripped out and you're like, motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
or when you're scared by a non-dangerous insect that flies in front of your face, and before it was like, oh yeah, I love moths. I think they're beautiful, and I think they add to the ecosystem. And I would never want to kill a moth, but the minute one flies in your face, it's like, fuck, you're dead.
Right, without you even thinking about it. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it hijacks your nervous system. Yeah, and so maybe that is more fun, right, for the students who are going, my young students who are going to see a horror movie for fun. So maybe that is more fun to just have your nervous system hijacked for a moment, and then you could laugh about it. Which I mean, that's demonstrably more fun than the kind of questions that we're talking about in The Exorcist. So it might be why that movie might not appeal to everyone, and everybody's horror is not a monolith, right? There are people who go to horror
if The Exorcist were a ride at an amusement park. It would be the most depressing ride compared to like if what are some jump scary, like if Friday the 13th were a ride, right?
Yeah,
like
paranormal
the floor would
activity.
drop and you go, whoa, yeah,
right. All paranormal
all these
activity
twists and turns
is
and
just jump scares, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's certainly more fun.
The Exorcist is just you sitting in a dark room. And then at one point you hear your mother's voice.
Well, no, in that ride, right? You have to. They require you must be accompanied by your mother.
Oh yes, okay.
And then you're going through it, and then she gets led astray into a different part of the ride.
You lose your mother.
Lose your mother, and then she keeps popping up every once in a while.
Right.
And they tell her the ride is over. They don't tell you that.
They don't tell you that, and they convince you that like it's your fault that she got lost.
Right.
And then they gaslight you. It's like, no, you came in here alone. What are you talking about?
Mother? I don't see any mother.
I don't know. There's no mothers here. It's like, I'm sorry. Did you come in here with your mother? Did you lose your mother? Oh my gosh, what a horrible son you are.
Right. Oh, I'll get you your mother again. That'll be $250,000.
Yeah.
I don't make enough. You don't make enough money to save your mother.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, I guess you should have chosen a better job. What's your job again? Oh, teacher. Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm sure you feel really great answering that call and helping the younger generation. Meanwhile, your mother's lost in this ride.
Right.
There's nothing. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do.
She sucks cocks in there.
Yeah. That's the next part of the ride that you're not allowed to go into.
And instead of like a costume character, like a costume Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse, it's Uncle Tito coming out and goes, hey, I tell you up. Hey, let me tell you. You lost her. What do you mean you lost her?
Lost her. It's like,
well, then don't do that.
Yeah. Then they let you out of the ride, and it's like, all right, well, go back to your life. Go back to your teaching position that you're really, that you're really grateful for. And yeah. You're just saving the world. Yeah,
and your students tell you that the movie you're dedicating a year and a half to is boring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Don't you feel like shit now? The Exorcist ride.
Exit.
People lining up around the block.
Yeah.
Oh, and just one more thing. And he leans in closer as if he's going to tell you a secret, and then he just barfs all over you. Yeah, we're not cleaning that up. Just get out of here. God, what horrible. I can see why they haven't made an Exorcist ride.
One of these days, when we have all the money in the world to lose on this ride,
mm-hmm,
we'll go do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, okay, yeah, what were we talking about? But yeah, so, yeah, back to this movie. No, that reminded me. Somebody else said this, I'm stealing this from another podcast, The Villain Was Right,
mm-hmm.
right? They were reviewing The Never-Ending Story. And they were talking about how, because you were talking about jump scares,
mm-hmm.
Got me thinking about this. Kynan, in that movie, he's reading a book.
Right.
And he gets a jump scare from a book. How does that happen? I mean, I know how it happens in the movie because we escape into his mind and he's imagining stuff, and then and then the goblin leapt out at him from the corner, and the character in the book would get a jump scare. But how are you reading words on a page and suddenly you're like, ah!
I like to think of myself as a big reader. That's never happened to me.
Never. I don't think it can. I think that's the, I guess it's a different realm that the written word is working with, right? Like that's a little bit more horror, right?
Right.
Like you can get.
Could you do it in a play?
Oh yeah, I think you could do it in a
play. Well, jump scare.
A jump scare watching a play, maybe not reading a play.
Right. No. Yeah, watching a play. So
to be or not to be.
But like certainly movies and radio, you can do a jump scare, right? Because you can manipulate the audio. I guess, yeah, in a modern play, you can manipulate the audio. Yeah. You would have to have that, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen like things. I've seen even like like a character thinks that they're alone on stage because the spotlight is trained on them, and then the lights go up, and then there's another person there,
Jesus,
right?
I don't like that.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Like lots of good jump scares in plays, but like in a book. Like how does that?
And how do you get a book that never ends?
Yeah, I do not know.
Right, take it back to the bookstore the next day. This says never-ending story.
I
stayed up all night and I read it. It ended.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Jump scares abounds.
Right. Oh yeah. Also, this book's defective. It has jump scares in it. It has jump scares in it. Yeah. Look at yourself.
Mm-hmm. And he reads.
God, yeah, we got to tell the manufacturer about this. There's a recall on this book.
Yeah, danger, choking hazard, and jump scares. Right, but no, like you can read, like you can be reading The Exorcist in a darkened room, and you think you're alone in the house, and then somebody slams the door, and you can get a jump scare from that. Right. Yeah, but not from the book, right? And then suddenly Falcor dropped from the sky. Oh
no! You're my never-ending buddy, Falcor.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not doing it justice, folks. Go to The Villain Was Right and listen to their interpretation of it. But actually, okay. So you were talking about the difference between horror and terror, Kynan. I think actually, and I might be wrong about this. You were talking about like there's different kind of theories on this. Yeah. The first one that I heard, and it might be the origin of it, is in Stephen King's Danse Macabre, where he kind of like talks about the anatomy of scares and fear. And he talks about, and I think he has a very particular definition of horror, terror, and I think there's a third one that he calls like, I think it's like the gross out or something like that, right? And he says, I think he's kind of like telling on himself a little bit that he goes for the gross out like maybe more often than he should,
Right?
Which I would agree with, but
he writes like a book every 9 months, and
yeah,
he's like for
he's
real,
like a baby.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian told this because we were talking about like a very rich person. I forget who it was. It wasn't Elon Musk at the time, but we were like, oh, did you know? Like somebody did the calculations, and it's like every time so and so sneezes, I think it was Bill Gates. It's like every time Bill Gates sneezes, he makes like $1 million. And then I was like, I wonder how much money Stephen King makes when he sneezes, and he's like, he doesn't. He's too busy writing. Because that man is always writing.
He's always writing. Yeah. So as much as, criticize King for whatever, he has many, many more books than anybody I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the work ethic on that man is well, I wouldn't go up there if I were you. That's the old King place, and he's busy. Leave him alone.
Very busy.
Yes. He's writing another Carrie. I don't know. Another Shining. It's called Shinings. It's different from Dr. Sleep,
Oh, yeah, it's very different. Very, very different. Right.
And there's a sequel to that one. It's called Dr. Slept. No, I don't know. Okay, just get out of here. Yeah.
Rita Hayworth and another Shawshank Redemption.
Yes. The Blue Mile. I don't know. The Sit. Fire put outer. Fire finisher.
Stop it. The Undead Zone.
The Tommy doorbell ringers. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we're missing some gems.
We are,
there, right? Yeah.
Salem's a whole lot.
Oh, now I know why Captain Howdy laughs and cries. Okay.
All right.
So we were talking about how this part in the movie gets me every single time, right? Like even reviewing this minute, Kynan, like down to the second, like I know it's coming. It still gets me. And Jason Miller's reaction is like so good here, right? And the reason it's so good, Kynan, do you know about this?
I have a feeling I know, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Folks, the reason Jason Miller looks genuinely scared and on edge is because Friedkin had just fired one of his many guns, which he had on set with him. Apparently, he would have more than one gun. This is the first I'm hearing of this, right? More than one gun hidden on set. And so the actors were never quite sure if he was gonna use one that day or if he had run out of guns. There's no more guns. That's it, But yeah, so now Jason Miller says this in the Fear of God documentary, that this is the thing that really pissed him off, right? Understandably so, right? Like being used in this way. We were just talking about how jump scares are kind of manipulative, right? They're manipulating your emotions. They're forcing you to feel something right away, right? And you have no consent over this, right? And that is the thing that really, really pissed him off, right? Being caught off guard in that way. And I think earlier I had attributed this moment to the pea soup scene, but I believe this is where like he actually got up in Billy Friedkin's face and said like, "Don't ever do that again. I'm an actor."
This must be shooting blanks, right? Because we're on. Like I'm not saying any of it is good. Like you shouldn't and there are myriad examples of why you shouldn't be playing even with guns that have blanks in them.
Right. You could give Max von Sydow a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, he just looks old. He's very young.
I forgot. Yeah.
Right. But like he couldn't be shooting a bullet into the dorms this is at Fordham,
at Georgetown University, or at Fordham, yes, right? Because this is recorded
shooting at Fordham, right? Yeah, you can't just fire have bullet.
We're
holes.
Literally shooting at Fordham, yeah.
Have bullet holes places, right? So this must be blanks, but even that is dangerous. I mean, so just to be clear about that, like it is. I'm laughing because it's just so out of like insane. It is actually insane to do this, but to shoot a blank and people like Jason Lee died from blanks.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Folks, we're laughing at the horror of it. Just to bring it back, right?
Right. Exactly. It's the horror.
It's like we're thinking about like what the hell is wrong with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, I do believe in my research, he has admitted in an interview, it's like, oh, no, they were all blanks.
You're right.
But it's like,
that does not make it okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, apparently, everyone eventually got used to this. Again, like in The Fear of God, Owen Roisman actually says that Max von Sydow would show up on set, and he's like, "Morning, Owen. Like, where are the guns this morning?" And Owen would say, "Well, there's a 45 behind that wall and a shotgun behind that one. A shotgun,
right?
Kynan." A fucking shotgun. And
there's not like a shotgun in the movie as a prop.
No. So
it's not like he was, which again is wrong. It's not like he was dicking around with the props that are on set. He brought guns specifically.
Yeah, right. This is specifically my acting gun.
Right. You might have your method, and I got mine.
Yeah. Oh God. Right. Yeah. This is my method. Yeah.
Right. He holds one up, and this one's Stanislavski, and this one's Meisner.
And this little pistol that goes, this is Strasbourg. Right? Any Godfather 2 people, you know, he does that. It's like, this is the life we have chosen. I love that because I do that. Like I make that noise with my nose. And like when he did that, I was like, oh, somebody else just like me. Yeah. And Kynan, this is the thing I can't wrap my head around. Like in the same documentary, in the same section, we have all of the actors, right? We have Max von Sydow, we have Ellen Burstyn, like saying how much they loved Billy,
right,
and working with Billy, but also that he was a maniac,
right?
And like I just kept thinking, it's like, what kind of superhuman magnetism does this guy possess that would allow him to get away with stuff like this and still be loved by his actors, if maybe not fully trusted,
right?
Like, or do you think they're like saying this for the camera? They're like I don't know.
It's probably all of those. It's probably all the things you're talking about, right? Like so the patience of von Sydow and the patience of Burstyn, and the fact that the movie came out well. Like maybe if and is now the most famous movie they've made, and if it had turned out terribly, maybe they wouldn't be saying these things about him, you know. And I'm Friedkin is a just wonderful, magnanimous person in interviews, and it just seemed like he is charming, and this is a time period where these directors, through the power of their vision, right, with the capital V, they got people to do a lot of crazy things. Like The Exorcist was, a crazier set than I would want, obviously, with these fake guns and these stunts going wrong. But there were other movies in the 70s where people did much crazier things, like through the force of the director and sometimes the screenwriter and sometimes the producer's personalities.
Yeah.
It's also Stockholm Syndrome, perhaps. Where they're like, yeah. It was great.
Billy's a wonderful director. He's so great.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think these same actors would like to do that with someone they're working with today. Like, I'm sure that David Gordon Green, if he was doing that with the new Exorcist, Ellen Burstyn would not be as
no.
about it. Right?
No. Yeah. That's a thing. Like, you're no Billy Friedkin.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, I saw this once on Instagram, and I could never find it again. I'm so upset that I didn't take a screenshot of it. But there's this. It's like this. It's this drawing in pen of it's almost like a one panel comic of Billy Friedkin, and he's got his hands on his hips, and he's got like the frowny eyebrows, and he's looking at the rest of the cast. And so you got Ellen Burstyn, you got Linda Blair, you got the two priests, and even in the back you have just the Captain Howdy face, and they're all kind of like, they all look terrified of him. And then I think that like the caption is something like, but what folks didn't know is the real monster on set was William Friedkin, right? And like even Captain Howdy is scared of Billy Friedkin. And folks, if you know what comic I'm talking about, like, please bring that back up. Like, send it to us or put it on the Facebook page, because I've been looking for it and I cannot find it. But yeah, that'll tell you. Even Captain Howdy is scared of Friedkin.
Right.
Yeah.
Different times, 50 years ago.
Yep. So back to this minute, Karras is badly shaken, and Miller is badly shaken as he gets up from the desk and he makes his way over to the phone. Meanwhile, the tape is still playing very loudly in the background. I really like the choice to leave it on. Like, if it were me, I would have turned it off before answering the phone. Right. But this says something about Karras's like state of mind right now, right? That he didn't even think to turn it off. And then for us, the audience, we get this like uneasy, chaotic feeling. It reminded me actually of the Godfather scene where like they call Sonny about Pop
Right.
and the baby is crying. You remember that?
Yep.
Right? Like I'm on an important call right now. The world should stop.
Right.
But it doesn't, right? Yeah. And so Karis, we don't know who is on the other line.
Right.
We don't hear anything. All we see and hear is Karis going, yeah, I'll be right there. And all the while, the demon is just like screaming in the background, and the scene ends on this extended scream. And this is the cut that I always remember. This scream and this cut. This is an L cut?
Right. Yeah, you were talking about that earlier, right? Yeah, this is the one you remembered.
This is the one I remember, right? We got another L cut here, folks, where the sound is a scream. And remember, we had one right after the hypnotism scene, and Linda Blair screams, and it cuts to a shot of Jason Miller running on the track. And then the end of the crucifix scene where Ellen Burstyn screams, and we cut to Jason Miller walking up.
Coming up over that hill, right?
Over that hill, right? And now we got another scream and another cut. And another Father Karras is running to help. Was this intentional, do you think? Like, because the L cuts are like the first half of the L cut is somebody screaming. The second half is Karras coming to help.
Yeah, I think that might be something that they discover in the edit. It's not in the screenplay, for instance. Whereas nowadays you might put that in the screenplay. Like we hear the screams follow over ... and then we have the slug line for the next scene. That's become more common. So I'm not sure when they would have sort of figured out this pattern, but I would imagine that they discovered it in production or pre-production even.
Yeah, because it's very like, because it's never a scream and then Kinderman,
right? It's over,
or a scream and then
Karras,
Dyer or something like that. Yeah, right. It's always Karras. Karras is always the one on the other side of that scream.
Yeah,
right?
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it cuts, and we are watching as Karras arrives at the house, right? It's still late at night. If we're going to go by the book, it's like 3 a.m. The witching hour, folks. Yeah, there you go. Running up the street right outside the McNeil home. It's another one of these like camera tricks that I love so much in this movie. Like he's running to the camera, or so it seems, and then he gets there, and as he does, we see that he has led us to the next shot, and it has like become an over-the-shoulder shot over his shoulder, and now we see that Sharon is already outside. Dimmy, watch out for Sharon.
Watch out for her.
I don't know why. But just watch out.
Right. Don't follow her in any stables. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Watch out for Sharon. I don't know what that means. But yeah, she runs up to the gate to let him in. Together, they run back to the house, and they don't even bother to close the gate. That's gotta be a thing. Like you were talking about before, Kynan, where like because it's a movie, you wouldn't do what you normally do because it would look stupid or clunky.
You don't say
on camera
on the phone. Well, all right, okay, yeah. Talk to you later. Bye. Right. Yeah. We cut out all that stuff. Yeah. We don't have people putting on their seatbelts in cars, which is one of my pet peeves.
Oh yeah.
We just cut that out because it just looks awkward and silly in a movie.
Right. They don't like you go to the trouble of making breakfast, and then suddenly the father is like, oh no, I'm late for work. Right. Don't even eat it.
Right. People brush their teeth and spit, but they don't rinse.
Even
they don't rinse their mouth, and they also don't rinse the spit out of the sink.
Right. Yeah. Because that it's like we don't got time for that. We got to keep this movie moving. Right. Yeah. But yeah, like so, like in the midst of this tense scene, having to watch Sharon go back and close the gate, that would just be like, like. She's like, oh, it's the utmost importance, Father Karras. Oh, wait, hang on. I just got to close them. It's like, no, don't do that, right? But yeah, so we cut and we are inside. And not just anywhere, we are upstairs right outside that door. But we are now looking down over the railing at the ascending steps. And our characters enter the frame and ascend at a run. They are hurrying up those stairs. And as they reach the first landing right outside Chris's door, Sharon whispers, I don't want Chris to see this. Why?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
Like, why?
I don't know. Yeah, when it's the scene outside and he's coming up to her, I'm like, oh, why is it Sharon? That's interesting to me. I love Sharon. I'd like to see more of her. Like, why is this happening? Okay, it must be something with Chris. Even in like watching this, like he must be leading her to where Chris is. And then as we're going up the stairs, we sort of realize that she has a flashlight in her hands the whole time, which is interesting. But yeah, that's a good question. Why can't Chris see that? Because it's just so bothersome of what we're going to see in the next minute. Is that your idea?
That's the only thing that I can think is that, like, let's not tell, again, with the communication, like in movies, it's like, let's not tell everybody everything because then the movie would be shorter. Right? Like, but like this genuinely bugged me. And now that I think about it, like Kynan, this is the thing. This is the reason that Karis finally lets up and calls for an exorcism. And we, up till now, we have followed Chris throughout this whole thing as she tries to convince these doctors, this priest, that something isn't right. And it leads up to a scene where she's not even there.
That's interesting. Yeah, that doesn't bother me when I watch the movie, but now it will. Thanks, Lester. That's what we're here for on the Exorcist Minute.
Listeners, you're welcome, listeners, right? The hero we've been following the whole time, and she's not even here,
let's
right?
let her sleep. She has to get her sleep.
Let's just let her sleep. Yeah, right. But it's like it's the same in the book, right? Sharon is the one who calls. Yeah, watch out for Sharon. And Karis comes over and sees what he sees and decides to get the exorcism ball rolling. But why not have this be Chris? Why not make this her mic drop?
Yeah.
Right?
I have no answer for that.
Yeah. And again, listeners, like, write in. Like, what did you, like, did this affect you, like, when you were watching this? Like, I was just like, we're rooting for Chris. Like, she doesn't get to have her, like, see?
Right.
I told you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, yeah, now that you're mentioning it, it is bothering me the more that we're like, because it could be like, she shows Karis this, right? You know, what we're going to see in the next minute. And then, you know, they have this look, right? She's like, look, I was telling you, right? I told you so, basically. He's looking and like, okay, yeah, this is it. And then Chris says, please, call me Mrs. McNeil. Because I schooled you.
I fell into that. I was with you. I was like, yeah, you're right, Kynan, you're right. And then you turned it into
and made you do a jump scare.
Oh God. But yeah, I mean, you know, that's
right.
And then what's gonna happen? Like, next morning, Chris wakes up. It's like, oh, good morning, madam. I made you bacon and eggs, and oh, Sharon has something to tell you. Oh yeah, you know, I convinced the priest to do the exorcism. It's like, what? I've been trying to do that this whole time.
The whole time.
The whole time, right? Oh yeah, well, you know, it was really easy. Just show her the, you know, just show him the writing on your daughter.
The inside of your daughter.
Which, okay, to be fair, folks, she does tell him about that in the book, and he discounts it. He's like, "Oh, dermatographia." He's like, "Oh yeah, you know, she probably did that with her fingernails, right?" Yeah. So she has explained that, right? So she has seen this. So actually, yeah. So in the book, this has happened before, and she has told him about it, and he's been like, "Meh."
Okay. All right.
Because that's Karis is meh, right?
Right.
Psychokinesis, dermatographia.
Yeah.
You know. Everything else except devils, right?
except speaking French.
Except speaking French. Yeah, right.
All right, yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, in any case, they pass Chris's room and they start up the second little set of stairs, right? And Karis says, well, what's wrong? What is it? A little loudly, right after Sharon says, I don't want Chris to see this, right? Like,
this is the hallway where sound doesn't travel down to these other rooms.
Oh,
right?
That's right. I forgot, right? Don't tell me to be calm. His daughter won't, or father won't call her on her birthday. Right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sound doesn't play by the rules here. Yeah, but no, like it just seemed really, really fun. Like go back and watch it, folks. It's like, I don't want Chris to see this. Well, what? What's wrong? Shut up. Right, and also, okay, like you already mentioned it, Kynan. Sharon, I love you, but we see now that, you know, as they both reach the top of the steps, that she has been holding a flashlight, which she had the entire time as they are running up these two sets of stairs in total darkness. Right. We know why she has it. It's for the next scene. But it just struck me as I was like, you can still use that now.
No, it's for later.
I don't want...
No, it's for emphasis for later.
Chris is just, she hears everything, right? The walls are just very thin. I don't want, bang, bang. I always thought there's that last step. I just, you know. Are you okay? Here, let me help you out. He's like, no, it's fine. Oh, God damn it, that armoire is still out here. Oh, Carl, I'm sorry. Did we wake you up? Carl, you're mumbling in your sleep again.
That's right.
Okay, so they reach the camera as it turns, giving us this great shot of Sharon in silhouette against the window as she puts on her coat. I really like that. Like this is an excellent reminder of where they are about to go and how cold it is in that room, right? But sadly, that is the end of this minute and all I have in my notes for this episode. Kynan, is there anything else we missed?
No, I think we got it.
All right, folks. This has been another excellent Exorcist Minute. I've been Lester Ryan Clark. You can reach me on all the socials as Lester Ryan Clark.
And I've been Kynan Diaz, and you can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd as Howdy Kynan.
Yes. We've got our listener group, Compelling Conversations. Go check that out and request to join, and we'll let you in here with us. Thank you so much to everyone who has shared the show by word of mouth or on social media, and a big thank you to everyone who has given us a 5-star ratings on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show. We really appreciate it. It's going to help our little podcast grow and find more cool people like you. All right. Kynan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Folks, until next time, the power of Mr. Wednesday compels you. Father Lucas. Freaking.
And this thing about Sharon, leave Sharon out of this. She's just doing her job.
Watch out for Sharon. Why?
Why, Father Lucas? Why? So then he doesn't go in and do anything where Karis is scared of Sharon later.
No. There's never a moment of like after the next scene, it's like, will you help us now, Father? You trust us now, Father, right? And then he's looking at her, and in his head he hears, watch out for Sharon, right? No, that never happens.
No. Sharon's gonna laugh at you. Watch out for Sharon. Sharon's gonna laugh at you. Watch out for Sharon.
What does it mean? He has dandruff, Kynan.
It was me, Father, the whole time.
The whole
Sharon?
time? Sharon? Is he
That's
the horseman?
my Earth name. You're right. You thought I was dating a horseman, but I was dating 4 horsemen.
Whoa! Oh, that's actually very funny. I like that.